I want you to close your eyes for a second and just like imagine this exact scenario.
Oh boy. Okay.
You are sealed inside a metal tube and you are actively sinking into the pitch black, freezing, just totally unfathomable depths of an ocean.
Right.
An ocean that is literally called the Sea of Ghosts.
Which is, never a good sign.
Never. And if you try to go up, right, there is this permanent magical maelstrom hovering above the surface. It acts like like a gargantuan industrial blender for anything that tries to fly through it.
Yeah, it just shreds everything.
Exactly. So going up is death. And all around you, pressing against the hull with thousands of pounds of force per square inch, is this crushing absolute oceanic pressure.
Every single creak of the metal is just the ocean trying to get in.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, and I mean so much worse, trapped inside that fragile metal tube with you, breathing your recycled air, is a murderer.
I mean, it is the ultimate locked room mystery, except the room is slowly being crushed by the weight of the world, and the lock is just thousands of feet of freezing, lethal water.
Right. The physical reality of that setup is terrifying before a single weapon is even drawn.
It really is. So welcome to this deep dive into the first 4 chapters of the Apocalyptica Arcanum II source material.
Super excited for this one.
Same. Our mission today is to tear into the ill-fated voyage of the submersible known as the ESS Albacore.
Yeah, the Albacore. Such a classic, brutal story.
It really is. And we aren't just going to, run through the sequence of a violent mutiny. We want to examine the precise mechanisms of deep-sea survival here.
Right, the tactical nightmare of close-quarters combat in a flooding tube.
Exactly. And just look at the absolute devastating cost of survival in the year 2101 AM.
Because to truly grasp the stakes on the Albacore, we really need to ground ourselves in the mechanics of this world.
Yeah, let's set the stage.
Right. So it is the age of conquest. We are over a century removed from the meteor, the catastrophic event that shattered the globe.
And introduced Shardicite.
Exactly. And that mineral didn't just change technology. It brought this terrifying, belief-based magic system into reality, which changes everything about how people live.
Right. By 2101, civilization has adapted by taking to the skies. Airships rule.
Everybody is flying.
Everybody. So the very existence of a deep-sea submersible like the Albacore is this bizarre, highly dangerous anomaly.
It's so unnatural for them.
It is. It's a necessary nightmare engineered for one specific purpose, and that's bypassing the impassable maelstrom that separates Cascadia and Europa.
Nobody actually wants to be in a submarine in this world.
No, absolutely not.
It completely violates every survival instinct of a civilization that relies on altitude to stay alive.
Right. If you fall, you die. Now they're choosing to sink.
Exactly. But before we get to the blood on the deck, we really have to look at the people sealed inside this hull.
The passenger manifest is wild.
It is. So the ESS Albacore is boarding in the freezing port of Nunavut over in Cascadia, and it's bound for Dresden, the capital of Europa.
Right.
And standing at the helm is Captain Isaac Carver.
Carver, man.
Yeah. Carver is stern, he is fair, and he is statistically one of the most terrifying people to work for.
Oh, yeah. His track record it's bleak.
It's legendary. He survives high-risk, incredibly dangerous voyages.
Yeah.
That his crews somehow never survive.
Right. He always comes back.
The ship usually comes back. The people under his command, dead.
And you really have to look at the psychological gravity of that reputation,
Oh, for sure.
If you are a crew member or a passenger, you are stepping onto a vessel commanded by a man who is mathematically likely to outlive you in a crisis.
He's the statistical anomaly.
Exactly. You aren't just trusting him with your life, you are actively trusting someone who has a documented history of being the sole survivor.
Which is wild.
It creates this immediate foundational layer of paranoia before they even cast off from the docks.
Which brings up a massive question for me, right? If this guy has a literal 100% mortality rate for his employees on rough voyages, why on earth is anyone buying a ticket?
Desperation. Pure desperation.
I mean, a bad review about slow service keeps people out of restaurants. This guy's passengers and crew routinely die. Why get on the sub?
Well, you have to look at the geopolitical map and really the economic reality of the post-Meteor world.
Right.
The sheer socioeconomic desperation of the year 2101 AM drives every decision we see here.
It's a harsh world.
Very. And the journey to the European markets, specifically the stone docks of Dresden, is unbelievably lucrative.
So it's high risk, high reward.
Exactly. If you can make it there with rare goods or, with specialized skills, you can rewrite your entire destiny.
Right, erase debts, buy land, just disappear.
But the Sea of Ghosts is otherwise impassable. You cannot fly over it because the Maelstrom will just shred your airship.
So you're stuck.
Yeah, the Albacore effectively holds a monopoly on transit. The passengers, and the crew for that matter, are placing a desperate bet against their own poverty.
That makes a lot of sense.
Carver's ship isn't a luxury cruise. It is a calculated roll of the dice by people who feel they have absolutely nothing left to lose.
So it's a ship full of people cornered by life. Let's look at exactly who is desperate enough to take that bet. The group the sources refer to as the party.
Oh, the party. This group is so good.
They really are. Yeah. First, we have Mazada Tariska.
Mozada.
Yeah, he's a tabaxi, so a feline humanoid, and he strides up the gangway, projecting the absolute swagger of a seasoned, dangerous pirate.
He's got the whole look down.
Totally. He's got this leather eye patch, he wears a glowing shardicite fragment around his neck like a warning, and he talks a massive game.
Right.
But underneath all of that theatrical performance, he is a silver-tongued charlatan.
Yeah, he is entirely fake.
He is actively fleeing a mountain of Cascadian creditors.
Right.
And the eye under that patch,
Yeah.
it works perfectly fine.
Which is such a brilliant detail. He is operating on a survival strategy of perceived threat.
Fake it till you make it, basically.
Exactly. In an enclosed environment full of dangerous people, looking like the most dangerous person in the room is a defense mechanism.
Right. It keeps people away.
He's wearing this mask of lethal competence to protect himself from his own extreme vulnerability. If people think he's a pirate, they just won't test him.
That's so smart. And then you have Muddy Mittens.
Oh,
another tabaxi, but literally the complete opposite end of the spectrum from Mazada.
Very true.
He's this unkempt, grimy rat catcher who doesn't even try to hide his lower class status.
He is who he is.
Exactly. And then you have Stanley the Seer.
Stanley is fascinating.
He really is. He's a Yuan-Ti alchemist and a man of faith. But what's cool about Stanley is he relies on the cold, hard precision of chemical explosives rather than traditional magic or swords.
Right. He's a chemist at heart.
Yeah. Then there's Lofta, a sentient, gnome-like construct.
Always good to have a construct on board.
For sure. We have Barkevius Frumpy Melon. Yeah, the psychological profile of this passenger manifest is basically a list of flight risks.
That's exactly what it is.
Then there's Secro, this quiet, kobold ranger who moves with total economic silence.
Barely makes a sound.
And his constant companion is this clockwork fire drake.
It sounds so cool.
I know, this beautiful, intricate machine of brass and shardicite-fed fire.
I want one.
Same. And finally, rounding out the passengers, you have 4032.
Kolg.
He goes by Kolg. And Kolg is an Atlantean warforged, so a massive mechanical sentinel. But specifically, he is a veteran of the American Forever War.
That is such a heavy detail.
It is staggering. The sources point out that Kolg served 21 years of continuous combat in a recon platoon.
Yeah.
21 years of active deployment without a break.
We really, really need to pause and examine the mechanics of what a 21-year deployment actually means for an Atlantean warforged.
Let's do it, because it's not like a human deployment.
No, not at all. The Forever War was an absolute meat grinder of an attrition conflict.
Just constant violence.
Yeah, constant. So for a warforged to survive over 2 decades on the front lines means they have sustained catastrophic damage, right?
Right.
They've undergone countless field repairs, and they've witnessed as well as inflicted just unspeakable violence.
And they remember it.
Exactly. Warforged in this universe are sentient, they have memories. Kolg is carrying a century's worth of hyper-compressed, continuous psychological trauma inside an armored frame.
He is a walking, heavily armored case study in PTSD.
He really is.
And those are just the passengers paying for a ticket. On the operational side, you have the crew and the security detail.
The one supposed to keep order.
Right. The first officer is Drax Trulia. And the source material explicitly notes that Trulia is physically imposing and leaves an immediate, lingering, sinister taste in everyone's mouth during boarding.
Yeah, instant red flag.
Major red flag. And the security is handled by a specialized Marine Expeditionary Force.
The heavy hitters.
Yeah, this is a squad of 6 Atlantean and Warforged designated boss. Boo, Bolo, Bobo, BB, and Bill.
All B names, love that.
Right, and they're led by a human officer named Arthur Langdon.
So you take this incredibly volatile mix, right?
Yeah.
Desperate fugitives, a crew led by a statistically cursed captain, and a squad of emotionless, heavily armed mechanical guards.
What could go wrong?
Exactly. And you seal them all inside a steel cylinder. Then you drop that cylinder into the freezing blackness of the ocean, miles away from any governing authority.
No backup.
None. The ecosystem isn't just fragile. It is fundamentally designed to collapse.
And it absolutely shatters on the very first night.
First blood.
Yeah, first blood. Deep into the first night cycle, the mangled remains of one of the Warforged guards, Bill's serial number 8-111, are discovered.
Poor Bill.
And they're deliberately hidden within the ship's internal structure.
Which is crazy to think about.
It is. Captain Carver immediately throws the Albacore into a ship-wide lockdown and calls a mandatory, incredibly tense interrogation on the bridge.
You can just feel the tension.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the physical reality of this space. The physical pressure of the ocean outside, which is constantly threatening to crush them, is perfectly mirrored by this sudden, inescapable suspicion inside the hull.
Right. There are no police to call.
None.
There is no shore to swim to. The killer is standing in the room with them.
And we really need to analyze the tactical significance of Bill's murder.
Yes, let's talk about that. Why is the death of a Warforged sentinel so deeply chilling to everyone on board?
Right, because it's not a normal murder.
No. These aren't fragile humans who can be slipped a poison in their rations or pushed down a ladder.
Right.
Warforged are heavy, armored, combat-ready Atlantean machines. Their chassis are reinforced. Their sensory arrays are designed to detect ambushes.
They are literal walking tanks.
Exactly. So to dismantle one silently, without triggering a ship-wide alarm or even waking the adjacent cabins, requires highly specialized mechanical knowledge.
Or immense physical strength.
Or terrifyingly potent magic.
Yeah, you don't just accidentally take apart a Warforged.
You don't trip and dismantle a machine.
No. You have to know exactly where the armored plates intersect, where the power core connects to the sensory nodes, and how to sever them instantly.
Precisely. And the fact that the killer attempted to hide the massive, heavy body in the ship's superstructure, but did a relatively poor job of it, tells us a lot about their operational timeline.
How so?
Well, it suggests one of two things. Either the killer possesses a staggering level of arrogance, believing they are untouchable even if the wreckage is found, or they were operating on a highly accelerated, panicked timeline.
Like they were rushed.
Right. They had a window of minutes to kill a mechanical soldier and shove the evidence into a vent.
Both of those options are terrifying.
Completely terrifying to the crew because it means the killer is highly capable and potentially erratic.
It instantly shifts the dynamic of the voyage. They aren't just traveling together anymore. They are trapped together in a hunting ground.
Yeah, everyone is a suspect and everyone is prey.
And during, and really immediately after this tense interrogation on the bridge, you start to see the seeds of an actual conspiracy taking root.
Nicola.
Yes, Nicola Cornelius. He's this brawling, fiddle-playing sailor.
Right.
And instead of keeping his head down, like you'd expect a deckhand to do during a murder investigation, Nicholas starts moving actively among the crew and the passengers.
Stir in the pot.
Big time. He starts whispering about Carver's dark history. He brings up the mortality rates. He is actively weaponizing the crew's existing paranoia.
This is acoustic warfare on a submarine.
Acoustic warfare, I love that.
Well, it is. Nicola is running a classic whisper campaign, which is the foundational anatomy of a mutiny.
He's laying the groundwork.
He isn't just gossiping over a barrel of rations. He is systematically dismantling Captain Carver's authority.
Right, because out there, authority is survival.
Exactly. In a deep-sea survival situation, a captain's authority is derived entirely from their ability to protect the crew from the environment.
If he can't do that, he's useless.
Nicola is reframing the narrative. He is telling the crew, the ocean isn't the primary threat here. The captain's track record is the threat.
Wow.
He is maneuvering the crew into believing that removing Carver is an act of self-defense.
It's a brilliant, insidious psychological tactic.
Oh.
And it works because Carver's own history makes the lies believable.
Exactly. The paranoia is already there.
But whisper campaigns take time to fully ferment, right? You can make people nervous with rumors, but to truly break a naval command structure and incite an armed rebellion, the saboteur needs to create a massive crisis.
Right. They need an inciting incident.
They need a tangible, terrifying event that proves unequivocally to every person on board that Carver cannot protect them.
Which brings us to the formal dinner.
Yeah, The formal dinner.
The fragile facade of civility before the violence really starts.
Carver, in this deeply uncomfortable attempt to assert normalcy, command, and just control the narrative, hosts a formal officer's dinner for the passengers.
But let's be real.
Yeah, so let's be real. It is a thinly veiled interrogation disguised as hospitality.
It absolutely is.
He's got First Officer Trulia there, Officer Langdon, Helmsman Trutha. They are actively grilling the party, trying to figure out who had the skills to dismantle Bill.
And the party is naturally defensive.
Oh, completely. They try to flip the script, demanding answers about Carver's dead crews. The tension is incredibly thick. Forks are scraping against plates. Everyone is sizing everyone else up.
It's a powder keg.
And then the alarms start screaming.
The screech of metal sirens and the tolling bells echoing through the acoustic chamber of the hull.
It must have been deafening.
Oh, yeah. It is exactly the crisis the saboteur needed to break the stalemate.
The engine room has been compromised.
Right.
And here is where we really need to look deeply at the technological architecture of the Albacore, because the engineering of this ship is absolutely wild.
It is so cool and so messed up.
It really is. In this steampunk, magic-infused 22nd century, the Albacore doesn't run on diesel engines or a nuclear reactor.
Nope.
The massive boilers that provide the steam propulsion are powered by bound water and fire elementals,
Literal primordial forces of nature.
caged inside the engine block.
Yeah.
And someone has intentionally bypassed the containment wards and released a massive water elemental from its housing.
Which is suicidal.
Completely.
Yeah.
It is actively threatening to flood the entire engineering deck and kill the ship's propulsion.
We really have to understand the mechanics of elemental containment here.
Let's get into it.
You are dealing with a belief-based magic system interacting with raw, chaotic energy from the elemental planes.
Right.
These elementals are held in place by intricate shardicite grids and pressure valves. They are effectively enslaved to boil water and turn a turbine.
Which they probably don't love.
No, they are inherently hostile to their confinement.
The sheer hubris of this technology just blows my mind.
It really is arrogance on a massive scale.
We're talking about caging a primordial, sentient force of nature to run the propeller of a submarine.
Yeah.
It's like building a nuclear reactor where the uranium is alive, it has a personality, it is furious about being locked up, and it actively hates you.
That is a great way to put it.
Why would any engineer build a ship this way?
Because it perfectly encapsulates the arrogance of the age of conquest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Humanity and, the other dominant races are utilizing shardicite and arcane engineering to dominate environments they have absolutely no biological business being in.
Like the crushing depths of the Sea of Ghosts.
Exactly. They view these ancient elementals not as conscious beings, but merely as high-yield fuel sources.
Just batteries.
Right. But the moment that shardicite containment grid breaches, you aren't just dealing with a mechanical failure.
No.
You are suddenly locked in a confined, steam-filled room with an angry god of water whose only instinct is to crush you and return to the ocean.
Which is exactly the nightmare the party walks into.
Poor guys.
Seriously. The alarms blare, the party rushes down into the engineering deck, and they have to fight this massive, shifting water elemental amidst high-pressure steam, bursting copper pipes, and heavy machinery.
The environment is just as dangerous as the monster.
It is a brutal, chaotic fight. Magic and physical attacks are flying in this incredibly cramped space.
Right.
They manage to beat it back, and re-engage the containment grid. But the psychological damage to the ship's morale is done.
The trust is totally broken.
This proves, undeniably, that there is an inside saboteur. Containment grids don't just slip open. Someone intentionally opened the cage.
That realization eliminates any remaining middle ground on the ship.
It forces everyone's hand.
Yeah, the Whisper campaign is over. The Cold War has officially gone hot. Everyone on board realizes they have to pick a side immediately.
So following the fight in the engine room, the party goes on the offensive.
It had enough.
They are highly suspicious now. One of them utilizes an invisibility spell to secretly tail First Officer Trulia and Samson Hornblower, the European halfling engineer.
Very stealthy.
Yes. The invisible party member follows them into a secluded corridor and witnesses this shady, aggressive exchange.
Right.
Even though they can't catch every single whispered word, the conspiratorial body language and the fragmented sentences confirm it. Trulia and Hornblower are actively orchestrating a mutiny.
They caught them red-handed. Well, audibly.
Exactly. But during this reconnaissance, the party uncovers something far more terrifying about the ship's security force.
Oh man, the arcane control lock.
Yes, the master switch. Officer Langdon, the human in charge of the Warforged Marine Expeditionary Force, holds a device called an arcane control lock.
Right.
It is essentially a master switch, a magical remote control that can completely instantly override the free will and tactical programming of the Atlantean Sentinels.
We really need to analyze the tactical and honestly the moral horror of this device.
It is so messed up.
It is a piece of magical hardware designed to enforce total obedience. We know from Kolg, the Warforged passenger who served 21 years in combat, that Warforged in this era are fully sentient beings.
They are robots.
Right. They possess memories, complex trauma, distinct personalities, and undeniable free will.
They are people.
Yet this corporate security detail has been fitted with a magical leash. It is the arcane equivalent of firmware DRM applied to a living mind.
Wow, yeah. DRM for a soul.
Exactly. It strips them of their personhood and turns them back into unquestioning biological weapons.
It's essentially slavery operated via a remote control. You just press a button, and 5 sentient beings lose control of their own limbs and minds.
It is a devastating piece of technology, and from a pure tactical standpoint, the existence of that master switch changes the entire geometry of the impending mutiny.
Because it shifts the balance of power instantly.
Right. First Officer Trulia and his faction of saboteurs don't need to win a fair, drawn-out firefight against Captain Carver and the Loyalists.
They don't need the numbers.
And they don't need to slowly convince the heavy Warforged guards to join their rebellion.
Right.
They just need to acquire that single remote control. Whoever holds the master switch instantly commands the most lethal, heavily armored force on the submarine.
The board is set.
All the pieces are in place.
You have the Loyalists, Captain Carver, Helmsman Drutha, the mechanic Drigg, and Officer Langdon.
Right.
And you have the mutineers Trulia, Hornblower, Nicola, and the dwarf Othud.
Yep.
They are locked in a tense standoff, fingers hovering over their weapons, waiting for a spark. And Captain Carver, completely blinded by his own obsessions, essentially hands the mutineers a lit match.
The fatal dive.
Yes.
This is where the psychology of leadership completely breaks down.
Let's talk about it. The ship's sonar suddenly pings an anomaly in the darkness. It detects a sunken derelict vessel resting on the ocean floor.
Which normally you'd just sail past.
Right. Now, Carver has a massive career-long obsession with claiming high-value wreckage.
He can't help himself.
He is a scavenger at his core. He immediately orders the helmsman to halt the Albacore and demands a scavenging dive.
Just unbelievable timing.
And First Officer Trulia publicly, loudly dissents right there on the bridge.
Which you never do in a military or naval structure.
Never. Trulia challenges Carver's authority in front of the entire crew, stating that every time Carver stops for a wreck, crew members die.
Right.
Trulia is weaponizing Carver's morbid history right to his face in front of the people he is trying to protect.
If we break down Carver's psychology in this specific moment, we see his fatal flaw fully exposed.
Oh, absolutely.
A competent captain would feel the immense tension vibrating through his ship.
You'd think so.
A competent captain would realize that his first officer publicly challenging a direct order is a massive red flag.
Yeah.
And that stopping a submarine in hostile waters to loot a wreck while a saboteur is on board is tactical suicide.
It's the dumbest thing he could do.
But Carver's greed and his absolute hubris completely blind him to the temperature of his own crew.
Carver doesn't just ignore Trulia's warning. He literally uses the threat of the Warforged guards to muscle the dissenting crew into obedience.
Right, he forces it.
He forces the scavenging dive to proceed against the desperate advice of a second-in-command.
And by forcing that dive, Carver commits the worst possible tactical error he could make.
It's the beginning of the end.
It is. He takes himself, his most capable loyalist mechanic Drigg, his loyal navigator Miyake, and the heavily armed party, and he physically isolates all of them outside the submersible.
He steps outside.
Yes. He essentially hands his own ship over to the mutineers, giving them a locked environment and a multi-hour window of uninterrupted opportunity.
The dive itself is pure claustrophobic horror.
You can't even imagine.
They have to step into these massive, specialized, deep-sea atmospheric suits. These aren't sleek wetsuits. These are heavy, clanking metal tubes.
Harness, they can barely move.
They step out of the ship's airlock into the crushing blackness of the ocean floor, guided only by the narrow, weak beams of their helmet lamps.
It's so dark.
So dark. They are walking through centuries of silt and jagged, rusted metal, escorted by 3 of the Warforged sentinels, Boss, Boo, and Bolo.
Just a terrifying walk.
They spend hours out there in the freezing dark, totally cut off from the ship's internal comms. And then Their oxygen starts running low, and they return.
They return to a fundamentally altered reality.
They clump back into the airlock. The heavy exterior doors seal shut behind them. The water pumps out.
Right.
They unlock their heavy helmets, take a breath of air, and step into an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, the trap is sprung.
While they were walking on the ocean floor, the mutiny executed its final phase. Officer Langdon, the human commander of the Warforged, has been brutally murdered.
The only guy with the remote.
Yep. His body is mangled on the deck.
Yeah.
And standing over him is First Officer Trulia, holding the arcane master switch in his hand.
Game over.
The mutiny is fully realized. Trulia has used the lock to enslave the remaining Warforged inside the ship, turning the ship's own security force against the captain.
The trap has perfectly snapped shut around Carver.
Wait, hold on. I'm looking at the tactical layout here, and something makes no sense.
Okay, what is it?
Why on earth didn't Trulia just lock the exterior airlock doors? Right. He has total control of the interior. He has the guards. Carver and his biggest threats, the heavily armed party, are walking on the ocean floor with limited oxygen in their suits.
Right, why let them back in?
Why let them cycle back into the ship at all? Just leave them outside to suffocate or be crushed by the pressure.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
Tactically, locking the doors and letting the ocean do the wet work seems like the absolute safest play for a mutineer.
It's clean. It's easy.
But look at the architecture and the specific arcane mechanics of the Albacore. Trulia couldn't lock them out.
Why not?
Well, we can speculate that the exterior airlock might have manual mechanical overrides that Trulia couldn't disable without compromising the pressure integrity of the entire hull.
Okay, so a mechanical failsafe.
Right, but psychologically and operationally, there is a much more chilling reason. Trulia needed Captain Carver alive.
You needed him alive.
Yes, he needed Carver to cycle back through that airlock because of a deeply disturbing secret about how the Albacore is navigated. Trulia couldn't let Carver die outside because without Carver's specific voice, the ship becomes a tomb for everyone inside.
And we're going to dive straight into the mechanics of that voice right now.
It's wild.
Stepping out of those heavy diving suits, the party realizes their status has instantly evaporated.
They're not VIPs anymore.
No, they aren't paying passengers anymore. They aren't neutral observers to a labor dispute. They are a heavily armed obstacle in a hostile, bloody corporate takeover at the bottom of the ocean.
And the only way out is through the mutineers.
The descent into total chaos begins.
The tactical reality of fighting inside a submerged submarine is a nightmare.
It sounds impossible.
You have narrow, curving corridors, exposed steam pipes, and zero cover.
The Albacore instantly turns into a slaughterhouse. We are talking brutal close-quarters skirmishes through flickering metallic hallways that are already starting to take on freezing water from ruptured pipes.
The environment is just degrading so fast.
The loyalist helmsman, Warwick Drutha, is caught in the crossfire and killed almost immediately.
Yeah, crossfire is deadly in there.
The party realizes they have to systematically hunt down the mutineers room by room if they want to survive.
It's a crawl.
They manage to corner and execute the sailor Nicola Cornelius, the man who started the Whisper campaign. And they take down the dwarven engineer Hotted Copperhood in a frantic firefight.
Right.
But during this bloody, desperate push to retake the ship and rescue Carver, whom Trulia has taken hostage, the party uncovers that profound, deeply disturbing secret about the ESS Albacore itself.
They discover the revelation of Lucy.
Yes, the ship isn't just a machine of steel and steam.
Not at all.
The Albacore is equipped with a highly experimental, deeply unethical sentient enchantment.
Right.
It has an artificial soul woven into its Chartisite framework that was specifically designed to mimic Captain Carver's real-life daughter, Lucy.
Who lives safely far away in Ireland.
The ship has her personality matrix. It speaks with her voice. And crucially, the ship is magically tethered to be uniquely responsive only to Captain Carver's voice commands.
And there's the exact answer to your earlier question.
That is insane.
It explains the entire timeline of the airlock. It explains why Trulia took the massive risk of taking Carver hostage instead of executing him the second the helmet came off.
Or simply locking him outside to drown.
Exactly. Trulia needed Carver alive and breathing to issue the specific voice commands required to navigate the ship through the Maelstrom and back to port.
Right?
Without Carver, the Albacore is just a paralyzed metal coffin.
The mechanical logic makes sense, but we have to look at the sheer morality of this from Carver's perspective.
It's awful.
Imprinting your living daughter's personality onto a commercial, highly dangerous, heavily armed deep-sea submarine.
It is a staggering ethical nightmare.
Truly.
It completely blurs the line between a captain's obsession with his ship and a father's love for his child.
It's so messed up.
Look at how belief-based magic functions. Carver has literally trapped an arcane echo of his own daughter in a metal box, surrounded by crushing darkness, hostile elementals, and constant danger.
Yeah.
It elevates the Albacore from a mere setting into a tragic, active character in the narrative. The ship isn't just a vehicle. It is an innocent, artificial child caught in the middle of a violently bloody coup.
It adds this layer of psychological horror to every command given on the bridge.
Hearing a child's voice acknowledge weapons fire.
Exactly. But this revelation, combined with the sheer overwhelming violence of the mutiny, forces the wildcard characters to finally show their hands.
People can't stay neutral anymore.
The people who are trying to stay neutral realize they can't. Mia Carrier, the navigator, and Zachary Harrow, the reclusive researcher, officially throw their lot in with the party.
They pick a side.
They side against Trulia the mutineers. This shifts the tactical balance of power just enough.
Right.
The party regains the momentum, and they begin their final, coordinated push toward the bridge and the engine room to end this.
The party has the momentum, and they have superior numbers at this point, but first off, so Trulia is a trapped animal.
And dangerous.
And a cornered man at the bottom of the ocean who happens to be holding the remote control to a squad of mechanical super soldiers is the most dangerous entity imaginable.
Which brings us to the implosion, the absolute climax of this deep dive.
This sequence is unbelievable.
The party breaches the heavily fortified doors of the bridge and the engine room simultaneously.
Yeah.
It is absolute bedlam.
Yeah.
Gunfire, chemical explosives from Stanley, and raw magic are flying everywhere, ricocheting off the metal walls.
The noise must have been incredible.
And the hull of the Albacore, which has been under immense, unimaginable oceanic pressure this entire time and has taken massive internal damage from the elemental in the firefights, finally gives way.
It just can't take it anymore.
The steel groans, buckles, and tears. High-pressure, freezing seawater erupts into the ship in massive jets during the crossfire.
It's absolute chaos.
Trulia, seeing the water pouring in, realizing that the party has cornered him and that his mutiny has failed, makes a final, spiteful decision.
If I go down, you go down.
He violently, fatally sabotages the primary navigation and propulsion systems.
Yeah.
His logic is purely nihilistic. If he can't command the Albacore, no one will ever command it again.
It is the ultimate scorched earth tactic, executed at the bottom of the ocean.
The party manages to concentrate their fire and kill Trulia, but the cost is devastating.
Yeah.
Captain Carver is mortally wounded in the brutal crossfire. So let's look at the board in this exact second. Trulia is dead.
Right.
Carver's bleeding out on the deck. The ship is rapidly flooding with freezing ocean water, and total structural failure is imminent.
The metal is literally screaming.
But with Trulia dead, and the arcane master switch either rendered useless or physically broken during the intense melee, something incredible happens.
This is my favorite part.
Kolg, the Warforged veteran who has been fighting alongside the party, steps forward. The magical leash has been severed.
Right.
The Warforged Sentinels boss, Boo, Bolo, Bobo, and Bibi suddenly violently regain their free will.
The DRM drops.
They aren't remote-controlled weapons anymore. For the first time on this voyage, they are individuals.
And what they choose to do in that exact fleeting moment of liberation is the thematic core of this entire narrative.
Kolg issues a tactical directive to them, but he doesn't tell them to save themselves.
No.
He doesn't tell them to attack the remaining humans. He tells them to buy the human, dwarven, tabaxi, and yuan-ti survivors time to reach the captain's emergency escape yacht, which is attached to the belly of the ship.
And they do it.
And the Sentinels obey, but not because of a master switch. They choose to.
Right.
They use their massive, heavy armored frames to physically block the ruptures in the hull.
Which is insane to picture.
They stand against the incoming jets of water, physically holding back the encroaching weight of the ocean, forming a living, mechanical bulkhead. I mean, think about the physics of that.
It's impossible.
It is like trying to hold back the crushing weight of a collapsing skyscraper with your bare hands, except the skyscraper is made of the entire sea of ghosts.
We really need to analyze the profound psychological and narrative weight of this moment.
It's beautiful.
Let's look at the complete arc of these Warforged. They were introduced to us as personality-free tools, just walking hardware.
Right.
They were stripped of their free will by a human master, treated as nothing more than weapons, and forced to turn against the very crew they were built to protect.
Slaves, basically.
In the very first second that they reclaim their autonomy, the exact moment they get their souls and their minds back, they do not seek revenge against the species that enslaved them.
Which they totally could have.
Easily. They do not try to flee to the escape pods. They use their newly reclaimed free will to consciously choose to sacrifice themselves so that others can live.
It's heartbreaking.
It is the ultimate heartbreaking reclamation of their personhood. By choosing to die for the survivors, they prove they possess more humanity than the men who held their leashes.
Gives me chills just visualizing it. The water is rising rapidly.
Yes.
The survivors, the party, Miyake, Harrow, and the dying Captain Carver, pile into the cramped emergency yacht.
Barely making it.
The release mechanisms trigger, and the yacht violently detaches from the belly of the sub. And as the tiny escape vessel accelerates away into the dark water, the survivors look out through the thick glass viewports.
Such a cinematic moment.
They watch Kolg and the Sentinels standing defiant in the flooding corridors, water blasting around them, their mechanical muscles straining as they hold the bulkheads.
Until it's too much?
Until the structural integrity completely fails, and the ESS Albacore violently implodes under the crushing weight of the Sea of Ghosts.
The sheer deafening violence of the mutiny and the implosion is instantly erased by the terrifying, somber silence of the deep ocean.
The tiny yacht begins its slow, agonizing ascent toward the surface and the distant shores of Europa.
Just drifting up.
And the aftermath inside that small cabin is incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
You have this somber, silent journey in a cramped, ozone-smelling metal box.
Everyone is just in shock.
But in the midst of that profound grief and shock, you get these incredibly poignant, quiet character moments.
Like Muddy and Miyake.
Yes. Muddy Mittens, the grime-covered, cynical rat catcher, and Miyake Harrier, the hardened professional navigator, share a quiet, vulnerable conversation in the corner.
Right.
Stripped of all their posturing by the sheer trauma of what they just survived, they actually bond over their estranged relationships with their missing fathers.
It's this tiny glowing spark of pure empathy that somehow survived the absolute carnage of the mutiny.
Exactly.
It is a vital reminder of how extreme trauma functions. It doesn't just shatter people and drive them apart, as we saw with the mutineers. It can also rapidly bind disparate survivors together.
And then there's the final promise.
Oh, this breaks me.
Captain Carver is lying on the deck of the yacht, bleeding out from his wounds. He knows his time is up. He isn't going to make it to Dresden.
No.
In his final gasping moments, he calls Muddy Mittens over to him. Carver reaches into his heavy coat and pulls out an object.
The ship in a bottle.
It is a literal ship in a bottle,
Hmm.
but it's not a wooden toy. It is humming.
It's magical.
It's housing a powerful, completely unidentified magic that is swirling and glowing inside the glass.
Right.
Carver presses this artifact into Muddy's blackened hands, and he extracts a solemn, dying promise. He begs Muddy to deliver this bottle to his wife Agatha and his daughter Lucy, the real human Lucy waiting in Ireland.
Wow.
He wants them to know the absolute truth of his sacrifice and the final tragic fate of his ship. Muddy looks at the dying captain and promises to deliver it. And Captain Isaac Carver passes away.
He was an incredibly complex, flawed man who ultimately paid the ultimate price for his own blinding hubris. But in his final breath, he managed to leave one genuine act of love behind.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to chew on.
Let's hear it.
Throughout this entire deep dive into the doomed voyage of the Albacore, we've watched flesh and blood humanity act with chilling, almost mechanical cruelty.
Yeah, the worst of humanity.
We saw paranoia, calculated mutiny, the enslavement of sentient minds, and brutal murder, all executed with cold, selfish precision.
Right.
Yet, the most profound act of pure, selfless humanity we witnessed came from machines. It came from the Warforged Sentinels, who, the very moment they were granted a choice, chose to die, holding back the ocean so that strangers could live.
It's so powerful.
So I want you to consider this. When the absolute crushing pressure of the world is applied, whether it's thousands of feet of freezing ocean water or the desperate economics of a ruined world, what actually dictates the shape of a soul?
Is it flesh, blood, and biology?
Or is it the choices we make in our final, darkest moments?
That is a beautiful, haunting question to carry forward as these survivors finally reach the surface.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. The ESS Albacore may be scattered across the bottom of the Sea of Ghosts, but remember, for these survivors, the journey to the stone docks of Dresden is only just begun. We'll see you next time.